IDEA's parents, Nate and Cleo, are in this chamber tonight, along with more than 24 Americans whose lives have been torn apart by gun violence. They deserve a vote. Gabby Giffords deserves a vote. The families of Newtown deserve a vote. The families of Aurora deserve a vote. The families of Oak Creek and Tucson and Blacksburg and the countless other communities ripped open by gun violence, they deserve a simple vote.
President Obama laid out a broad agenda during his fourth State of the Union address with renewed focus on strengthening the U.S. economy and the middle class, along with an emotional call to action on gun control, along with issues like immigration and climate change. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the News Hub on WSJ Live. I'm Kelsey Hubbard. Joining me this morning to discuss the State of the Union address is Don Baer. He's a former Clinton speechwriter and CEO of Burson Marsteller. Don, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Were you surprised that the speech was not as aggressive as the president's inauguration speech? Do you think it was more conciliatory?
Actually, I thought it was pretty aggressive. I thought he set out a very strong agenda from his point of view. And sure, he suggested that there's no perfection in one side or another and there's room for compromise. But he was pretty head on, I thought.
And do you think because of the fact that he no longer has to worry about re-election, that he has more swagger, as some people are saying, that he can be bolder now?
I think the president is feeling his oats as a result of his re-election. And he's doing many of the things that he feels like perhaps he would have liked to have done the first term, but for various reasons he couldn't, and this is his moment to do it. I think it's a big question as to whether or not he'll be able to get any or most of these things done. But he's definitely saying, here's what I'm aiming for.
And before we get to some of the specifics, do you think he said anything in the speech that would likely help break the logjam in Washington right now and help facilitate compromise, especially with the looming sequestration cuts and his plan for deficit reduction? Did you hear anything there?
I actually didn't hear anything there when it comes to the fiscal issues that I think are looming and are going to be really critical and sort of a gateway to entry to many of these other issues. I didn't, and I think that if anything, he has tried to sort of minimize the impact and importance of the deficit. He says a deficit reduction plan is not an economic plan alone, which of course no one has ever suggested, but that doesn't mean that it's not necessary to deal with the deficit, which I'm afraid he's trying to fuzz a little bit. I do think that on something like immigration, if you think about what he said and what Marco Rubio, the Republican respondent, said, they're very close in terms of the themes that they're talking about at this point. Now, the devil's in the detail, as always. Right. But I've seen some research overnight that was conducted by Microsoft Bing. This was 13,000 people who voted online last night about how they felt about some of these provisions, and the one that they had the greatest agreement on, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, was on immigration.
Oh, so that perhaps could be the one area they go forward. But let's stay on the deficit issue, and let's play a soundbite from last night.
None of us will get 100% of what we want, but the alternative will cost us jobs, hurt our economy, visit hardship on millions of hard-working Americans. So let's set party interests aside and work to pass a budget that replaces reckless cuts with smart savings and wise investments in our future.
Obviously, they're talking about the economy. That was a big focus for the president. He unveiled sweeping initiatives to boost the middle class, including raising the minimum wage to $9 per hour, up from $7.25. As a CEO, how do you think the business community will react to this?
I think the business community, wants to believe in these kinds of investments in college and more education, and immigration reform for sure. But without a real commitment to what those cuts are actually going to be and how we're going to get there, especially on entitlement reform, it's hard to understand or see how we move forward. And I think that's what the business community is really watching for. As I say, this is about now the serious details of getting down to business about making this work, not about speeches. It's about rolling up one's sleeves and really getting down to it.
So, given your position and putting yourself in the shoes of other CEOs, would you be hiring right now? Did this give you any more confidence in how things will be moving forward?
Well, look, it's clear that there are underlying things going on in the business economy that suggest that there's reasons for renewed confidence coming back. I think it is time to hire because I believe the economy is going to be moving forward, and you want to be in a position to take advantage of that. But obviously, everyone is cautious, and the big inhibition right now is the government and the political climate. And with a political climate where our leaders are not finding common ground and quickly coming together, business people are generally saying, not so sure, I know what I can produce, but I'm worried about what they won't produce.
All right, Don Baer, thank you so much for joining us this morning with your reaction to the State of the Union address. We appreciate it.